I know what it is like to lose. I've lost everything. I'm sorry you've had to go through this. And the younger woman could not talk. She was drowning in her own tears. When we practice spiritual arts like meditation or yoga or consciousness, inner reflection, there's a common realization that we are all a part of this larger being, this larger structure, and everything is as it should be. Everything has a purpose. Everything is already in order. And this gives us peace of mind. And we know that the sins of the world, these people and these things that are causing us unnecessary pain, unnecessary suffering, such as economic systems, scams, wars, all these things that could be avoided, come out of this feeling of insecurity that these people, our people, have but will not face. Lugal told me that there is poison in the world. There's this negativity, this trauma, this fear. And we are here to experience life. We are here to feel it in its full capacity. But when we do not take in this negative part, when we do not fully process and understand, when we do not accept poison as poison, when we say, oh no, this isn't poison, this is natural, this is how it was meant to be. Or we reject it, we say, oh no, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing out in the world that's hurting people. Those people, they deserve it. Oh, all these rationalizations. When we refuse to feel the suffering that is naturally there in the world, that is part of this holistic experience, that poison accumulates within humanity, and it starts to poison the entire structure, the entire body of humanity, when we do not take our fair share of processing the suffering. We extrovert it, we put it out onto others. So if I feel hurt because of some childhood trauma, and I do not face that pain, then in my actions, in my words, that poison will bleed out onto other people, and it will cause them suffering. So yes, spiritual practice relieves us of this suffering because it allows us to accept the pain that is inherent to existence. But when we do not accept it, it bleeds out and causes more and more suffering. So the ultimate goal of spiritualists is to, like any animal, it follows the natural way. The ultimate goal of cats is to create more cats. The ultimate goal of spiritualists is to create more spiritualists. And we do this because we know if everyone comes to accept their pain and to see that, yes, there is pain in life, and then to work with what causes the pain, rather than compensate for it, cover it up with flowers and niceties, then these unnecessary structures that cause people suffering, like wars, famine, exploitative structures, be they economic or social, these things start to disappear. Because when we shut down our ability to feel pain, we also shut down our ability to feel compassion and to feel love. And when we do not feel love, we compensate, we overindulge, we spoil ourselves. And no matter how many nice cars or mansions or ice cream bars we have, nothing will fill the void of loneliness that is born from shutting out the world of compassion, love, and joy. Accept your pain. Bring it deeper into yourself. Feel it as deeply as you can. Do not rationalize. Do not say this was for a purpose. Do not say this is what I must go through. Cry. Feel it as deeply as you can. Ultimately, you will do something about it. You have to. All things will pass. You will escape this, be it through death or through drastic life change. I'll tell you a story. There were two women who both suffered in life. One woman got married, and she was in a marriage where she was abused physically, mentally, and verbally. And she told herself that as a woman, her duty was to suffer, was to endure these elements of her marriage as they were the elements that were inherent to her marriage. They were her duty. This was part of society and part of life, and so she accepted that this is how it was. And over time, they wore her down and down. She became tired. She became frail. She became wrinkled. And we're going to come back to her. The second woman was in a young romance as a teenager. She fell in love, and she made love, and she conceived. Within her, this child formed, but her body was not able to sustain the pregnancy, and she had a miscarriage. In her shame and guilt, she cried and cried and cried, and she continued to live with this idea that she was a failure and she was unworthy of love. And year after year, she continued to suffer. Now, the woman in the first story who was married, as she became frail, as she became wrinkled and wretched, eventually depression came. And she felt deeply the sadness that had become her life. Everything became meaningless. Her duty as a woman, as a wife, as a daughter, as a citizen of her society, everything now that she had lived for her entire life became meaningless. And it all fell away. As she laid there in bed, her marriage disintegrated. She was left, and her family lost pride in her. She was no longer valued as a citizen, having grown old, beaten, and wretched, without employable skills or the will to try. Now, let's go back to the other story. This younger woman who lost her child to a miscarriage continued to anguish over her lost child. And though there were many suitors, she would reject them, believing that her heart would only again be broken and that nothing would come of it. And one day, she began again to have hope that she could have the dreams that she desired. But the anguish that she had was still there. And so, as she created a new relationship and once again became pregnant, she felt anguish, stress, and worry. She drove the man away with her madness, and once again she had a miscarriage, primarily due to the stress and the anger and the regret that she felt from her past. Now we go back to the first woman. All of her life has been washed away. Everything she's created is dust in the wind. But she doesn't care anymore. She now has nothing to lose. She starts to come out of her depression. She feels a hunger. She feels discomfort. These are the first feelings that greet her coming out of this numbness. And as she feels that hunger, she goes and gets work. And as she feels the cold and the discomfort, she finds a place to live. And the next few years she lives surviving, finding this raw feeling of survival. She comes to live, and she feels a passion, a desire to get what she needs, this hunger. Now we go back to the other woman. After losing her second child, she becomes neurotic. She becomes mad. She drives away all suitors. She lives in seclusion. She struggles to survive. And she believes in her heart that she is a failure. And in doing so, she drives away her friends and her family. And she suffers. Now, on the other hand, the woman who lost her marriage has now learned again to survive. She no longer cares about beauty. She no longer cares about status. She has satisfied much of her hunger. And she feels grateful for what she has. She feels very content. And so she goes with every moment. She does what she likes. She sees a young woman, just over 30, suffering, mad, going through the streets, nearly stomping. And she talks to this woman. She says, "Oh, you seem so upset. What's wrong?" And the young woman says, "We just live in such a wretched world. There's no hope for us. We're just here to suffer, and one day we'll die. The gods hate me. I've lost both of my children to miscarriage, and there is no purpose in my life. I was only brought here to suffer." And the other woman, with an open heart, felt such compassion. She felt this younger woman's pain, and she brought it into her own heart, and she cried. And she cried so hard in front of this young woman. And at that moment, this young woman snapped out of her negative outlook. She was pulled from this misery that she was in. And the crying, it compelled her. She grabbed her senior, this older woman, and she hugged her. And she began to cry as well. She imagined in her mind a crying baby, and the love that she would give it, the compassion. The older woman said, "I know what it is like to lose. I've lost everything. I'm sorry you've had to go through this." And the younger woman could not talk. She was drowning in her own tears. She was reborn, an infant that had been neglected, that felt so loveless, so empty, that she felt she must create love from another person. All of her life was fulfilled in that moment. The love that she sought from being a mother, the love that she did not receive from her own parents, was given to her by that older woman who she did not even know, a stranger with compassion. Do not block out the pain that you feel for others. Do not justify their suffering. Feel the compassion, feel the pain. Send love to those who need it. But first, send love to yourself. Because within you is also a child that needs all the love and compassion that it deserves. And it deserves everything. Fill your heart with love Give the love to yourself. Let go of the rattles. Let go of all these things that you are holding on to, like a child in insecurity. All these comforts. Let go of them and feel all the pain that floods into you. Everything you're avoiding, feel it within your heart. Because at the end of everything, at the end of all of that suffering, is the joy of living, the joy of life. Once the price has been paid, once the suffering has been accepted, you will need nothing to feel joy. Joy will be your constant state, and it will not be ecstasy. It will not be a feeling of elation. It will be the deepest feeling of contentment that you have ever felt. And through that love, you will then be able to process the pain of others. You will be able to give them love as well, not just through your words, but through your actions, through your energy. And your love will pour out, and their love, being transformed, will also pour out. And the world shall bathe in compassion. And everything will align itself. Society will reach harmony once again. And every new trauma, every new hardship that comes up, we will accept, we will feel deeply in our own hearts as if it is happening to us. And with our power, we will alleviate it. We will bring it the care that it needs. And harmony will again be restored. Thank you so much for listening. I send love out to all of you. And I know you will find peace. This is your journey. And I know you'll make it. I love you all.